Welcome to the annual ANTHC meeting. Huinga nukharalugo amitlamaгаnan yupiugo mamtaritlagmiu anaka kuilagumiungok ataka gasaurok Port Orchard, Washington agmiungok. Huinga kekwanaugo, huinga thinkedaugo, haidaugo, Jasnach Higgins-augo. My Yupik names are Nukharalok and Amitlamaгаnan, and my English name is Valerie Davidson, and I'm originally from Bethel, which we call Mamtaritlak in Southwest Alaska. My mother's family is Yupik from Guiginlok, which is on the coast near Bethel, and it literally means village with no river. My father's family, my father's people are Gassak, which means they're not Yupik. I was also adopted about 20 years ago by the Jackson family in Cake in Southeast Alaska, or Cakewan, and they are both Tlingit and Haida, and they gave me the Haida name Jasnach Higgins. And I try not to tell people what that name means, but I always get scolded if I don't, so I will share that with you today. Jasnach Higgins in Haida means noisy lady. And I don't really think of myself as a loud person, but I think it's because I have a really loud, authentic Native woman's laugh, which is the kind you can hear all the way at the end of the village where the boardwalk meets the tundra and all the way at the end of the beach. I have the great honor and privilege of being the president and CEO of the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, and again, welcome. I also want to acknowledge that today I'm speaking from Anchorage, Alaska, and as we all know, these are the traditional homelands of the Dena'ina people who have been incredible stewards of this land since time immemorial. And we want to honor their incredible stewardship of these lands where we are so fortunate to live, to work, to learn, and play, again, since time immemorial. So our agenda today, you can see on the screen, we'll first do a welcome by our chair of the ANTHC board, Board Chair Kimberly Strong. We'll also hear an invocation by Director Preston Rookuk. We will introduce the ANTHC Board of Directors. We'll then do a year in review, and the year in review covers fiscal year 2022. We are in a federal fiscal year, so that time period is October 1, 2021 through September 30, 2022, so fiscal year 22. At the end, we will also have an opportunity for questions and answers. And first, I would like to start us off in a good way by introducing the ANTHC Board Chair, Kimberly Strong, to provide a welcome. Chair Strong?
Boy, I don't know if that's in a good way or not. Eske yachatu asat klinket gainach chach nach hadsati ka guchit ganach Haiti yeti. I'm Kimberly Strong. My Tlingit name is Heske. I come from the Wolf House, the Eagle Wolf House of Klukwan, Jothkat Kwan, and I am a child of the Ganach Haiti of Klukwan. So before I say any more words, I want to give my appreciation to all of you that are attending via Zoom or in person here. We have our governance team has a great appreciation for the feedback that from the people that we serve. So I'm going to cheesh for that. I want to also recognize the former chairman of the board, Bernice Kagiglak. She put in a long, hard year as our chairman last year, and so I want to recognize the hard work that she has given for our people. And without any further, I'm Tlingit, so you put me in front of a mic, and I can go on forever. But at this point, I'll ask to have the invocation.
I'm going to do the invocation today. Please pray with me. Let's all bow our heads. I'm going to pray in my language. I'm Naptakukot kayo sa kamang, ito mo ko naptakasta. Kayo siya kaktakay ko yuludapot kayo siya nakakakakasot. No namin mani. Amasa ka kinuyuwakot, naskot siya gumalingot, nakamikapot naskot siya spanon. Ito mo ko na itong siya kasta. Ila ko takaktakay ko, iyang naksak, iyang siya kayo wikang kol wakakaatkan. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Preston. I also want to introduce or at least acknowledge the former board members that have served with us for many years and some for fewer years, but Robert Henrich, Lorena Walker, Diana Zurl, and Gia Hanna. At this time, I would like to introduce Director Preston Rokook from Norton Sound Health Corporation, who will be, we already had him provide the invocation. And I now want to introduce my fellow board members. It's an honor to be the chairman of ANTHC and work with such a great group of people. Walter Jim, Vice Chair of the Board, Yukon-Kuskokwim Health Corporation, Walter Jim. Charles Clement, Treasurer of the Board, and comes to us from Matlakatla Indian Community. Charlene Nollner, the secretary, our secretary from Copper River Native Association. Mark Sniggeroff, Aleutian Pribilof Island Association. Bernice Kagilek, sorry if I messed that one up, Bernice. She's from the Arctic Slope Native Association. Robert Clark from the Bristol Bay Native Association, and Francis Norman from Chugiak Mute. Loretta Nelson from Kodiak Area Native Association. And I see that Marge Nelson is here, the alternate, so I recognize her. We have Tanya Kirk from Nelik. April Kyle from South Central Foundation. Andrew Jimmy from Tanana Chiefs. Karina Iwan from the Unaffiliated Tribes, Seat A, also from the native village of Chitna. And Chief Gary Harrison from an unaffiliated tribe, Seat B. I would like to invite Valerie, President Davidson, back to the podium. Thank you.
Oyana Chair Strong. So I just wanted to make a couple of more announcements. Again, our meeting is being streamed live on the ANTHC website at www.anthc.org. And it's also on the ANTHC YouTube channel. And since our meeting is being recorded, you can also watch the recording anytime on the ANTHC YouTube channel. So today we're going to hear updates, a number of updates, but before we do that, I would like to introduce the ANTHC executive team. And so if we can cue that slide. From left to right, top to bottom, Monique Martin, Chief of Staff, is an enrolled tribal citizen of the Central Council of Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska. Dwayne Stilson is our Chief Financial Officer who has been here for several months. Natasha Singh is Vice President of Legal Affairs, and she is an enrolled tribal citizen of Stevens Village. Alan Vierling, who you'll be hearing from shortly, is the interim administrator of the Alaska Native Medical Center. David Beveridge, who you'll also be hearing from, is the Vice President of Environmental Health, Engineering, and Facilities Services. Allison Reed is our Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer. Jim Roberts is our Interim Vice President of Intergovernmental Affairs, and he is enrolled in the Hopi tribe, so he's a Hopi tribal citizen. Neil Tietzerth is our Chief Workforce Officer. Weather Potovan, who you will be hearing from shortly as well, is the Senior Director of the Division of Community Health Services. She is an enrolled tribal citizen of the native village of Tanana. After the reports on the highlights of the fiscal year 22 provided by some members of our executive team, we're also going to host a question and answer session at the end. And since we are being streamed live and we're doing it virtually also, we appreciate your understanding that questions and answers are going to be, we're going to take those that have been submitted through the Zoom question and answer window in order to protect patient confidentiality. We also have cards. If anyone is interested in providing a comment, Fiona, if you would mind walking forward a little bit so folks can see if you would like a comment card, and you can hand that back to Fiona at any time so that we can ensure that we address your questions as well. In addition to that, we also have Allison Knox, who is in the room. For those of you who are in the room, who is available to have a one-on-one conversation if you would like. After the meeting, we do have a side room that's available if you'd like to talk to her about a specific experience to make sure that we protect your confidentiality as a patient. And now to get us started, to kick off the highlights of fiscal year 22, I'd like to invite Alan Vierling, who is the interim administrator of the Alaska Native Medical Center, who will provide some highlights. Alan?
Thank you, Val, very much for having us. Our core business at the Alaska Native Medical Center is to provide care to Alaska Native and American Indian people. 2022 was an exceptionally busy year. All told, we provided over 160,000 individual episodes of care, which is literally millions of moments to serve our patient population. In addition to the care we provided, there were numerous occasions where we enhanced our services and we worked hard to move the organization into the future, and are particularly excited about the new imaging center bringing state-of-the-art diagnostic care to Alaska Native and American Indian people. The brief video gives a glimpse of the services we provide.
At the imaging center, we provide ultrasound, radiology, CAT scan, and MRI. And we currently have the latest state-of-the-art equipment. We have 2 MRIs. We have a dual energy CT. With our newer technology on our MRIs, the scan times have decreased considerably. It's just the latest state-of-the-art software. The imaging is so much clearer and crisper, so we can diagnose much easier. So one of the reasons we built this center was to get the patients that don't belong in the hospital out of the hospital setting. Bringing the outpatients over to this facility improves the overall patient experience.
As many of you know, we started off our year heavily focused on COVID. We work closely with the state of Alaska to help identify COVID variants and to improve the care of our patients. We're proud to acknowledge the recertification of our trauma programs along with improved infection rates and enhanced care for stroke victims. Overall, we continually work on our quality of care provided. Patient experience remains a continued focus. Improvements in housing, such as elder lounges, improved movement throughout the campus, shortened wait times, and increased viability and usage of our liaisons have helped improve our experience. The Tinatune Wayfinding app has been particularly helpful in helping our patients navigate a rather complex campus. Last, we spent considerable time planning for the future. We will grow our emergency department and our inpatient areas and improve the care of our patients by doing so. As the video demonstrates, the future here is extremely bright.
An exciting area of growth that our staff at ANTHC are working on right now includes an expansion of the emergency department at the Alaska Native Medical Center Hospital with a new dedicated behavioral health unit. This plan will increase the capacity of our emergency department, allowing more access to critical services for Alaska Native and American Indian people, and to Alaska's first hospital with a Trauma II designation. Improvements to the treatment space will allow us to increase efficiencies and improve timely access to emergency care. Plans to increase the waiting area will also provide more space for families and patients to wait for care or updates on a loved one. A new dedicated behavioral health unit will provide a treatment area and safe, dedicated space for our behavioral health patients. A key component to the expansion is moving our orthopedics department out of the hospital and into a new dedicated space at the University Lake Medical Center. This move is expected to be completed by summer 2023. Construction is expected to start in mid-2023 with a goal of being fully complete by fall of 2027.
Quyana Allen. So Alan actually stepped into the role as interim ANMC administrator from his position as chief operating officer, and we appreciate Alan stepping up to fill that role. And I know your family is probably like mine. We're so excited about the expansion of ANMC and also expanding access to care. I wanted to extend a special appreciation to the folks who are working at the hospital today and all healthcare workers throughout Alaska. We're starting to see a surge in numbers as we're in the flu season and also RSV season. We're told that hospitals right now, not only in Alaska, certainly in Anchorage, are at capacity. And for the first time, hospitals on the northwest coast, including in Seattle and Portland, are also at capacity because of those surges in flu cases as well as RSV. So again, Quyana, to all of you who are providing that critical care, and we extend our good thoughts and prayers to those who have loved ones who are receiving healthcare services right now. We also wanted to express, in addition to Senator Murkowski for her appropriation to be able to jumpstart that emergency department expansion, but I also wanted everyone here to know the incredible priority that the board provided, the ANTHC board provided, $257 million to be able to ensure that we have an expanded emergency department. We're also going to be expanding in the hospital, really, really incredible work. But it also requires, a hospital and an emergency. You can't just close it one day and ask people to come back in a few months when the work is done. We actually are going to be moving folks around, doing some other renovations, so that as those renovations happen in the hospital, we can still continue to provide critical services. I also want to acknowledge that, certainly during the time of COVID and right now when our hospital is pretty much the same size that it has been over the last 25 years, we sometimes don't hit the mark. We don't have enough room, and we don't have, people have been waiting for services as we have ramped up and reopened after COVID. And I wanted to make sure that if folks who are traveling, while you're traveling into town and you have questions about your travel or where you're going to stay, here is some information for the ANMC Coordination Center, and that number is 855 I can't quite read that tiny print. My eyes are older. So that number is 855 482 4382. And Quyana for Director Robert Clark on the ANTHC board, who has been my aging eyes interpreter, my seeing eye director, so Quyana. And again, also, if you have any questions or concerns or any compliments, again, Allison Knox, our Vice President of Patient Experience, is here in the room and is available to take your questions or your comments at any time. And then finally, I'm really excited to invite, is that better? I'm really excited to invite Weather Potovin, Senior Director, to provide highlights of the Division of Community Health Services. And Weather recently was promoted to the position of Senior Director, and we're really excited to have Weather here. Quyana, Weather.
Doyenda, everyone. I'm excited to provide a summary of our Community Health Services Division for the past year. The division focuses on partnering to promote health equity across the lifespan, which we do by monitoring population and community-level health trends and developing or supporting programs for priority health issues for Alaska Native peoples statewide. We also provide education, training, and technical assistance to our partners. The following activities are a high-level summary of some of our accomplishments this past year. To begin, In July 2021, ANTHC opened the Behavioral Health Wellness Clinic to promote Alaska Native wellness by offering immediate access to culturally attuned and evidence-based behavioral health care delivered through 100% telehealth services. We celebrated its first year of operations this past July, and during that first year of operations, the clinic saw over 400 patients and provided nearly 3,700 scheduled services. Our Community Health Aid Training Center was also busy this past year, where they trained 65 students in our new Education and Development Center building that represented 9 tribal health organizations, and those students were trained for this calendar year between January and October of this year. In addition to our regular training sessions, the CHAP program partnered with Alaska Legal Services and Tundra Women's Coalition and created an expanded health justice curriculum for community health aides. The training provides additional knowledge, skills, and resources for those impacted by sexual assault and domestic violence, with topics covering historical trauma, confidentiality and mandatory reporting, and behavioral health referrals. The training center also worked on several quality improvement projects throughout the year, including a new database that allows users to better identify changes to the CHAP statewide curriculum. Our distance learning network also throughout the past year completed their regular jobs of updating or reviewing 35 courses for CHAP, behavioral health aid programs, wellness and prevention, and the Alaska Native Medical Center. The division continued to remain busy this past year, providing technical assistance and training statewide. For technical assistance, the Alaska Native Epidemiology Center continued to expand and improve syndromic surveillance services to tribal health organizations. This program allows users near real-time monitoring of symptoms of concern in medical visit records. During the past year, we onboarded 3 regional emergency departments, so the program now serves 7 emergency departments managed by 6 tribal health organizations statewide. This past year, we also completed a pilot project onboarding 1 tribal health organization by adding their outpatient clinics to the system to determine the value of syndromic surveillance for small remote clinics throughout the state. Some examples of our training and education provided this past year include launching the Alaska Blanket Exercise as a virtual option. In the past year, over 700 people have participated in these workshops, either virtually or in person. In May, the Research Services Department and Alaska Pacific University partnered and hosted the 4th Annual Alaska Indigenous Research Program. There were over 125 participants, speakers, and elders in attendance. Since inception, over 350 people have attended the program. And lastly, ANTHC's Substance Misuse Prevention Program managed a statewide opioid overdose recognition and response initiative. The intent of this is to increase the number of Alaskans trained to respond to an opioid overdose and administer naloxone. Throughout the year, ANTHC trained over 750 individuals statewide in administering this medication and mailed out over 2,300 opioid overdose response kits statewide. Moving next to the Alaska Dental Therapy Education Program. In partnership with Illisavik Tribal College, this 2-year program trains dental health aid therapists, also known as DHATs, in providing professional and culturally competent dental care and prevention services. Since 2004, the program has had over 60 graduates and provided over 40,000 patient encounters, and that number is growing. To provide additional valuable learning experience for our students, ANTHC partnered with Yukon-Kuskokwim Health Corporation to allow 1 year of training providing clinical care at YKHC Dental Clinic. This past July, 6 students began their 1-year rotation at the clinic, and this partnership allows the students to have more patient encounters and provides the students the ability to work with dental assistants, dentists, and dental specialists in a clinical setting. We'll go next to a video of the DHAT training space in ANTHC's new Education and Development Center.
The Alaska Dental Therapy Educational Program is a educational program that brings students in from rural Alaska and teaches them how to become dental providers. So they get to go back home to their communities and take care of their community members. So we are now currently on our 15th class of students that are in the program. This year, we opened up the dental clinic here at the ANTHC Education and Development Center. We have a dedicated sim lab where the students can do their pre-clinical learning.
It's a much bigger facility. The students finally have modern sim lab, a simulation lab where they can work on patients. It's a mannequin that has their typodont teeth, which is just the fake teeth that they work on. Simulation lab feels like you are working as a provider in a dental chair with a patient there.
And we have an 18-chair dental clinic where the students can see patients here in Anchorage. And this is allowing them to see patients much earlier in the education and get more hands-on and clinical experience that will serve them well down the line. Anytime that you get the ability to work with a patient and build your skills, those are great learning opportunities. So the earlier we can get that to happen in the education, the more confident our students get. So when they go out into their home communities and their rural communities, they've seen a lot of different circumstances and experiences, and they know how to respond when something unexpected comes up. By having a dental therapist living and working in the community, we can focus on prevention and education and help make those smiles healthier for future generations.
Quiana Weather. Next, David Beveridge, Vice President of Environmental Health, Engineering, and Facilities Services, will provide some highlights. David?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. Our environmental health and engineering team's focus is primarily on healthy homes and communities, and we do this through construction of sanitation facilities, providing tribal utility support, reducing rural energy costs, and assisting tribes as they address climate and other environmental health issues. Our year in review starts with the first time water and sewer services. We were able to provide water and sewer facilities for 152 homes and 19 communities this past year. These projects included new community-wide systems, service connections to existing pipe systems, and wells and septic scattered throughout the state. Providing first service continues to be a priority for our team. To help communities sustain their water systems, our team has installed or rehabilitated remote monitoring systems and water plants in 36 communities this year. These systems monitor water treatment plant performance and energy usage. It notifies operators of potential problems, giving them time to fix those issues and keep the systems running before there's bigger problems. 104 communities now currently have remote monitoring installed. And this is going to grow to over 115 communities in the next year and a half. Having trained water plant operators is a critical part to sustain water and sewer systems. DHE has expanded our virtual training classes for water and wastewater operators through our Tribal Water Center. These trainings are spread out over several days and they allow the operators to stay within their communities while participating in the class. In 2022, the Tribal Water Center provided 5 virtual trainings to 114 operators from 45 different communities. In the latest Level 1 operator training, over 75% of the participants passed the state Level 1 exam compared to the traditional 7 to 9% pass rate as seen in the traditional classroom settings. That's a 10-fold increase in pass rates. Impact from climate change continue to present increasing challenges to communities. ANTHC has responded by these needs with multiple programs throughout the organization. But in order to streamline these activities and be more efficient in assisting communities, we're consolidating these activities under a climate initiatives program. That includes the Center for Environmentally Threatened Communities. This program, the Environmentally Threatened Communities, has assisted more than 24 communities in planning and securing funding to assess hazards and to protect infrastructure. The Climate Initiatives Program will also work closely with the tribes in advocating for the unmet needs that environmentally threatened communities are currently faced with. A big part of our work is to assist communities with replacing aging infrastructure. We were in 16 communities this year working on these types of projects, including Venati, where we are nearing completion of a new water plant and washateria replacement, and in Nanwalek, where we replaced over 6,000 feet of leaking and broken 30-year-old water mains. You'll see a video when I'm completed here on another project in Nanana, where we are completely upgrading the existing water treatment plant to provide the community safe and reliable water. We're excited about the development and the installation of the PASS and mini PASS systems. These portable alternative sanitation systems are in homes. They're home units that are not connected necessarily to the water system, but provides hand washing and ventilated toilets or dry separating toilets. Response from homeowners that have received these units has been overwhelmingly positive. To date, nearly 500 homes have had these systems installed, and in 2022, we had a very big year for installations. Last year was the 27th annual ATCEM, the Alaska Tribal Conference on Environmental Management, with participants from over 80 communities from Alaska and others outside of Alaska. After 2 years of virtual conferencing, this year's ATCEM in 2023 will be in person and virtual. The timing of the conference is moved to March, and it'll be right here in Anchorage, and the tracks will include solid waste, air, healthy homes, infrastructure, community health, contaminated sites, sustainability, resilience, youth, and water resources. So mark your calendars. And then finally, I wanted to share information on the infrastructure bill. This is a great opportunity for Alaska, especially since it's more flexible to provide funding for first-time piped water and sewer in our communities. Congress is providing $3.5 billion of funding to IHS nationwide to be spread out over 5 years. ANTHC, we have not yet received the first year of funding from FY22, but we expect to receive some of that shortly. Since this one-time funding allows for high cost of construction for first service projects, it's our priority to work with unserved and underserved communities to plan and develop these projects. This includes establishing project timelines, and we'll be working with tribes, the tribes on these timelines will put us in a good position to meet all the IHS requirements of making projects ready to fund before we can get those projects approved by IHS and help us to secure the design and construction funding that we need to carry out these projects. We'll also be working with communities and funding agencies to identify IHS required contributions for the projects. Operations and maintenance planning is also part of the project development, and ANTHC will be promoting regional utility management where available and expanding our Alaska Rural Utility Collaborative Program for communities that would like to join. Finally, we are continuing our advocacy for water and sewer operational and maintenance funding by the IHS or any other federal agency that would contribute. We don't want the cost of water and sewer to be a barrier to communities. The infrastructure bill presents a great opportunity for our team and to work with communities, and we look forward to working with each of you on these very important projects. Thank you. And you'll see a video from Nenana next.
The Nenana project is a water treatment plant upgrade. Their original water treatment plant's over 20 years old and was failing pretty miserably. The community was very unhappy with their water quality, so we're rebuilding the water plant outside and inside.
They basically replaced all the piping inside, electricity, and we're starting to remodel now. Busting concrete, help build frame, sheetrock.
It's an intensive effort to modernize and upgrade the process of the water filtration and handling of it all the piping and pumps and control panels, the boiler system. The standby power has been replaced and upgraded, modernized, and it's become or will soon be a fully automated system.
To me, this is one of the most advanced plants we've ever designed, and it's got automatic valves, fully automated system.
Because of the automation, we never had a water plant, from my knowledge anyway, it sounded like with the ANTHC ever, that has all the automation this one will have.
They basically replaced all the piping inside, electricity, and we're starting to remodel now.
Through the whole project, we've worked with the city and tribes to change our design to make it a better fit for the city of Nenana. We can't sit in Anchorage and design these water plants without local knowledge, so we were able to mine that local knowledge from the mayor and the tribes in partnership to where we developed the plant that they needed, and that took several changes in our design, but we were able to accomplish that with the money and the scope we have.
So I enjoy the plumbing aspect of it and piping and challenges like that for especially water treatment plants. I never did one in my life till I started here 12 years ago, right? So no, I enjoy that. Everyone's a new challenge too. They're all different. They're very unique. Each plant is. And like I said, the people I've met, it's just incredible. I got so many people I've met, and it's kind of a happy, sad relationship because you're out there working for 9 months, you develop these friendships, and then you leave. You know what I mean? And then you start all over again, you know, in the next one. But that's what's neat about it. I guess I like that. I'm a people person.
Like in any community, local hire is a big and important part of it, you know. They actively work with every community. I've been on the other end of the spectrum where I've lived in a rural Alaskan Native community that needed help and assistance, and ANTHC, you know, is a part of that.
It's unique in that way, and the people from the community that we work with are unique and great also.
I believe it'll help, you know, benefit the community a lot.
With better water. That was the goal, I think, better water. They changed out everything.
Just on a recent site visit, I was able to visit with a couple of the school teachers that have been at the school for years, and they were telling me that they would not drink the water at the school, and they had actually special filters on the water fountains for the school kids, and then they were excited to be able to take those off and be able to, you know, consume water at the school again in a safe manner. So that excited me to be able to hear that from the local school, which is right across the street from the water plant. So that was nice.
Brianna David. Next, Bryce Akagi, Vice President of Finance, will provide an overview of the fiscal year 2022 financials. Bryce?
Thank you, Val. I am grateful to be here and be with you this afternoon and give you a preliminary financial summary of the fiscal year ended on September 30th, 2022. Total operating revenues for the fiscal year 2022 were $843 million. Nearly half of this revenue, $403 million, was from third-party payments for patient care services at the Alaska Native Medical Center. The main payers included Medicaid, Medicare, and various commercial insurance companies. About a quarter of the revenue, $222 million, came from the Indian Health Service Compact, which helps support services throughout ANTHC, including patient care at the Alaska Native Medical Center, project administration at the Division of Environmental Health and Engineering, and community health and dental health aid therapist training within our Community Health Services Division. ANTHC also received $171 million in other grants and contracts that funded specific water and waste treatment projects in communities throughout the state, as well as community health, wellness, and prevention programs. $7 million in revenues were generated through ANTHC's real estate holdings, and $5 million in revenues came from tuition and fees at the Alaska Pacific University. The remaining $34 million in revenues was from various other activities, such as medical supply sales from the Regional Supply Service Center warehouse, and donations and contributions. Total operating expenses for FY22 were $790 million. ANTHC's largest division is the Alaska Native Medical Center. $530 million went towards the provision of patient care services at ANMC. These expenses include provider, nurse, and other staff salaries and benefits, patient travel and patient housing, as well as pharmaceutical and medical supplies needed to and used in the treatment of our patients. The Environmental Health and Engineering Division spent nearly $115 million on projects throughout the state to improve water, waste, and other infrastructure. This is about a 10% increase over the prior year, and we are excited to see this grow significantly in the coming years with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Nearly $90 million of operating expense went towards ANTHC corporate services, which include human resources, legal, health information technology, communications, finance, accounting, and contracting and procurement, as well as many of our statewide services. The Community Health the Community Health Services Division spent nearly $28 million to provide research and epidemiology services, community health, wellness, and prevention programs, and training for community health aides, dental health aid therapists, and behavioral health aides. The remaining operating expenses include education services at the Alaska Pacific University and charitable work through the Healthy Alaska Natives Foundation. 2022 brought a new set of challenges with the Delta and Omicron surges of the COVID pandemic to the eventual drawdown of the public health emergency. Despite some of these challenges, ANTHC continues on an overall upward trend in revenues and services provided, nearly doubling annual operating revenues over the past decade. ANTHC is poised to make significant investments in facilities, equipment, and services to meet the challenges of the future. Thank you.
Brianna Bryce, I did have a question from someone earlier. Is there a reason why Dwayne Stilson, our new CFO, is not presenting the financials? And since this was a review of FY22, during which Bryce Akagi was really providing most of the financial responsibility, our new CFO, Dwayne Stilson, graciously allowed the opportunity for Bryce, our VP of Finance, to be able to provide that financial overview. So, Juliana Bryce. Just a reminder, we have a couple of other things before I invite Alaska Pacific University to the stage. This is the last chance to register online to be entered to win one of the 3 door prizes that we'll be giving away shortly. And those will be 3 $250 checks for utility services. And please register online at www.anthc.org/annual meeting. Again, www.anthc/annual meeting. So I'm going to pause to give you a few more seconds to register. For the last several years, ANTHC has enjoyed a strategic partnership with the Alaska Pacific University, a tribal university here in Anchorage that provides statewide services. Please welcome Janelle Vanas, Alaska Pacific University President. Janelle?
Thank you, Val. And as the president of Alaska Pacific University, I just want to say thank you to all of you for this opportunity to talk about this positive partnership that we have. So Alaska Pacific University is dedicated to building out health-related and other programs to support the needs of the Alaska communities that you serve. In the spring of 2022, the first cohort of APU nursing students graduated. Of 16 graduates, 14 reported going directly to work for ANTHC. We are expanding our nursing program, including outreach programs in Bethel, Utqiagvik, Fairbanks, and Juneau. We are providing credit for health occupation certificates with an articulation into an associate's degree program for those that wish to continue on. The Community Health Aid Program, CHAP, that accreditation has moved from UAF to APU. The Environmental Public Health Program has been created and is accredited, and we're moving to add an associate's level degree program for that program. We've also added a health service administration concentration for our business degree programs. And of course, we are continuing our counseling psychology program, which is such a high need in these current times. This semester alone, we have 274 students enrolled in a health-related program. In our overall goal to become a tribal university, we are tribally serving right now, we are building our programs to be responsive to Indigenous students and to incorporate the value-added learning for everyone that comes from Indigenous ways of knowing and being included in that higher education. This relevance of our programs allow us to be meaningful extension and help you with your goals to develop leadership and workforce from within your own community. APU provides scholarship for Alaska Tribal Health Service employees, board members, and dependents. In this last year alone, 117 people took advantage of this scholarship, representing 16 different tribal health organizations. We are on track this year to see higher numbers of people participating in that scholarship program. We also work with our partners to build that leadership. Since its inception, we've had over 150 graduates from the Alaska Native Executive Leadership Program. We are expanding in our enrollment in a time in which most universities are seeing a decline. We've really appreciated the partnership, and we look forward to continuing to partner to provide quality education for Alaska Tribal Health System organization, but all of the communities that you serve. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity, Val.
Guyana Janelle. So I did see, for those of you who are on Zoom, it's been really fun seeing that we have maybe 4 or 5 future potential students and tribal health leaders, little kids who are here. And one of the things that I love so much about working in a tribal organization is our children learn at an early age to be a part of the process. And when they participate in our meetings, it's really an opportunity to show them from birth the power of what can be accomplished with tribal leadership. So thank you. In addition to our partnership with the Alaska Pacific University, we also want to thank and acknowledge so many Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act or ANTHC corporate partners who generously shared much needed COVID-19 pandemic relief funding. It was really a challenging couple of years, and we wanted to acknowledge their incredible support. First to CIRI, Cook Inlet Region, Inc., along with South Central Foundation, provided $14.6 million for ANMC outpatient imaging services, including the opening of the outpatient imaging center that we talked about earlier. AFOGNAC also provided $7.2 million to allow us to be able to increase our staffing and also make sure that we had additional testing supplies and testing costs were covered. Chugach Alaska Corporation contributed $2.16 million for equipment needed for COVID response, ensuring that we could provide care in a safe manner for everyone. Doyan Limited provided $1.27 million for expansion of COVID-19 testing space and also for lab remodeling. And finally, Alaska Federation of Natives provided $222,000 for equipment urgently needed for the COVID-19 response. In addition, they also recently made $10 million available from a grant that they had acquired from a federal organization, NTIA, to be able to ensure that we can deploy telehealth equipment out to your clinics. And so we really appreciate everyone who really contributed at a time, quite frankly, that tribal health needed it the most. And you know, we were all really struggling with the COVID surges of the last year. As I mentioned earlier, we're also really seeing what's happening right now with RSV and also the flu. And we really appreciate our community stepping up and rising to the challenge every single time, Guyana. In addition, I want to leave on a really positive note now that we've covered some of the things from the last fiscal year 22. Over the last year, the ANTHC board really worked with other tribes and tribal organizations from around the state to develop the strategic plan, to be able to develop a 3-year strategic plan, 2023 through 2025. And this plan, in addition to the strategic plan, the board also adopted an additional comprehensive financial plan that will allow us to be able to meet our future needs of the organization. I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the contributions from the board of directors, but also those when the board reached out for asking for additional help for what we needed, where you thought we needed to go. We were really excited that that happened. And so, Guyana, to the ANTHC board, we are rapidly rolling out some of those key performance indicators that will improve patient quality, improve access to care, improve our financial position, and make sure that we can provide an appropriate level of care at the right place, at the right time, and in the right manner. At this point, I think we're going to get ready for question and answers. And if I can ask our presenters who were here earlier to join me on the stage. While they're doing that, I did want to make sure that you knew that a part of that 3-year strategic financial plan also included some pretty significant investment into our emergency department expansion and emergency services I mentioned earlier. The board also is doing some capital catch-up investment from the last several years, and so a lot of making sure that we have the right medical equipment, that we have the right staff to be able to meet our current and future needs. So with that, I'm going to start with questions and answers. And so the first one is, I have older eyes, but I think I'm okay. Good afternoon is how this started. I love that. Thank you. Good afternoon. Teller is one of the villages without water and sewer. I'm wondering when and if we will ever get this option. This is the year 2022, and I feel everyone should have this option. Before I turn it over to David Beveridge to answer this question, I wanted to first thank all of the tribal leaders around Alaska who have really raised this issue to Congress, and especially our congressional delegation. For many, many years, tribal leaders have said it is unacceptable that this year, in the year that we're in right now, 2022, and these great United States of America, we still have family members. In fact, 25% of communities of homes in rural communities still don't have running water. Because of your advocacy and because of that issue being highlighted of the inability to be able to wash our hands because we didn't have running water in our communities, we believe that your advocacy compounded with COVID allowed that to become a health equity with this administration, and the priority was created in Congress that allowed $2.2 billion to be funded in the infrastructure bill for sanitation facilities projects. And so I'm going to ask David if you could please come and provide a status update on Teller.
Thank you very much. Excuse me for that. And as Val mentioned, this is high on our priority, not just Teller, but every single community that is without water and sewer right now, and those communities that are underserved, areas that have homes within a pipe system, pipe community that still lack water. So I don't have the particular schedule for Teller, but the funding that was being provided, as Val mentioned, does include money for all the communities that lack first service. So I can get that information, and if you would provide that your contact information to our staff, I can make sure that I reach back out to you. But what I would say is that our team will be traveling to communities to work on timelines and develop scopes of work over the next few months. And part of our, we're going to be out to all 180 of our communities that we work in over the next year to discuss priorities of communities, not just projects that are funded, but projects that you want to get funded and that we should be working on. So I would anticipate that we could be out to Teller very soon with that. It is a Village Safe Water lead community, but we are still engaged because it is a tribal community, and we'll be traveling out there to meet with your representatives and talk about that project as well.
Guyana David. So just as a reminder, in order for these projects to be funded, they have to be deemed by the Indian Health Service as construction ready. And so we're going to be spending a lot of time. I know David and his team have already been really intensely having those conversations with individual tribes. One of the things that we know is that as those conversations have occurred, we know that some of those projects that are on the IHS sanitation facilities deficiency system have been on the list for a number of years, and the community may decide that they actually want a different system now that finally after 30 or 50 years there's a possibility of them being funded. And so it's really important, if you think that you want a different system than what the information that was provided to the IHS 30 years ago, we want to make sure that we get a facility that works for you. The other thing I wanted to make sure that you knew is that a part of our advocacy efforts, as David mentioned earlier, include securing funding for operation and maintenance of those facilities, because the way that those facilities are funded includes a sustainability portion. We know that getting operation and maintenance funds from our federal partners will allow tribes to be able to get a higher score on their sustainability score, which allows that construction project to move farther and faster up the list. It also means that the running water is also more affordable to you in your community. And someone asked me the other day, well, will those funds come from IHS? And what we've said is there's no shame in our game. It doesn't need to come from IHS. It can come from USDA, from EPA. It really doesn't matter to us where those funds come from, as long as they are from legal and ethical sources. We will gladly take them, and we've heard from some of those agencies that they are willing to partner with us. So we're looking forward to moving forward of that possibility. There was also a question about looking at the slide of the executive team at ANTHC. It appears that there have been a number of changes, and you're right, there have. And someone asked, can you explain a little bit about those changes in the org chart and on the executive leadership team? One of the things that happens, we've certainly seen a lot of this in healthcare. There is an incredible amount of turnover. We've seen that during COVID. We've heard from a number of folks that this last 2 or 3 years, people have really been kind of put through the ringer. And we've heard from a number of folks in a variety of positions at ANTHC, not just in leadership, that they just needed a break. And what we know is that those kinds of transitions in employees are okay. It's a natural part of moving forward and doing business as an organization. And we're really excited that the folks that we have on our leadership team today have stepped in to take on that role at ANTHC. We've also been asked a question. If there's a question I can answer, if it's okay, I'll just go ahead and handle it. There was also a question about, can you explain what services, medical services are at ANMC/ANTHC, and what is offered at South Central Foundation, and what is the difference between ANTHC and South Central Foundation? And so I'm not going to speak for South Central Foundation, but I can tell you overall, ANTHC, Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, is a statewide tribal health organization that provides services to all Alaska Native and American Indian people who live in Alaska. We're a statewide tribal health organization, and we provide statewide services that used to be provided by the Indian Health Service or by the federal government. And so we also, in addition to co-managing or jointly managing the Alaska Native Medical Center, we don't do that alone. We do that with South Central Foundation, management of the Alaska Native Medical Center. Generally, the South Central Foundation manages primary care. They also provide behavioral health services. I'm not going to go through the entire list of services that are provided by South Central Foundation, but ANTHC generally provides statewide services. In addition to that, ANTHC is one of 26 co-signers to the Alaska Tribal Health Compact, and every tribe or tribal organization is legally distinct, and we provide services under compact and agreement with the federal government, and we're legally distinct, and we provide services within our service area under agreement with the federal government. I'm going to go to a question for someone else to give you all a break from me. I'm going to go back to David, and the question is, what is your total construction spending for 22? What are some of your upcoming projects that will be constructed in 2023? And it's the second question here.
Thank you again for that question. For 2022, Bryce had shared the information from our finances. We spent about $115 million in DHE. About $9 million of that was programmatic, which means that we spent about $104 million or $106 million on actual construction, and that included rural energy projects, first-time water and sewer, like out in Accucheck, where we just hooked up 76 homes this year. And small projects. It includes contracted work, force account work, and so that was what we did for 2022. So for 2023, we budgeted for a $150 million budget. So that's quite a stretch from our 115 that we just did, which was a big increase from 21. So that $150 million is going to be carried out through, again, force account projects and contracted projects. Those projects will include, and then basically I'm going to stretch out one more year. So our model and what we're growing to is to be able to deliver $250 million a year in the following year in 2024. So we are working on staffing up and there are agreements that we need to get in place to carry out all that work, because even though these projects take a while to design, we want to be ready to go with the staff to be able to get them constructed as soon as we can. So that's the dollar magnitude, and the type of projects are very similar. Water main replacement projects, going to wrap up a couple first service projects. We're actually working in about 8 communities right now to provide first-time water and sewer, and so we'll be completing those and starting on the design of the next batch of 7 first-time service projects that we feel that we will get funding for in FY23. Thank you.
Oyana David. I was also asked a question, how do we participate in the blanket exercise? Weather?
Thank you. You can email behavioralhealth@anthc.org, and they can get you set up to have one of those workshops, either done virtually or in person for your organization. Once again, that's behavioral health, all spelled out, at anthc.org. And if someone could drop that in the chat, if that came from an online source, I'd appreciate that.
Oyana Weather. I don't believe we have any more questions, and so now we're going to move to the door prizes. Feel free to stay here and help me celebrate the door prize winners. And those winners are a $250 utility check to Melina Andery. Please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. And we do have your contact information, so we'll be in touch about how to get those that check to you. Next, the next winner is... I don't know if this person is eligible because she's an alternate director and therefore a director of our board. We'll come back to that one. I'm so sorry and thank you for your service. The next winner is Janelle Menandaluk, and I believe she's here in person, perhaps. And the third winner is Valerie. No, I'm just kidding. The third winner is Casey Akbik. Okay. Congratulations. So as I mentioned before, we do have your contact information and we'll be in touch to make sure that you receive your utility check. And congratulations to the winners. And I believe that this concludes the end of our meeting. And Kuyana, again, for joining us for our annual meeting. To all of you who participated in person, to all of you who participated online, including those of you who dialed into the Zoom from the United States of America. So again, if you have questions that you'd like to submit anytime, feel free to submit those comments to www.anthc.org/annual meeting. And again, I'm going to ask Allison Knox, our Vice President of Patient Experience, to stand. And if you wanted to ask her any questions or have a conversation with her privately, you certainly are available to do that. And then also I wanted to let you know that you are also free to reach out to me at any time on my work cell phone and again, my name is Valerie Davidson. My cell phone number is 907-519-2090. Again, 907-519-2090. And with that, Guyana, thank you all so much. Doi.